Partially I've heard the rest.
Morning, Beane. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
He's going to start with an opening statement, Kaylee.
Okay.
Are you ready?
There's somebody not muted in the background, I believe.
Okay, perfect. All right, let me, this is going to take just a minute, but there's a lot of people that did a lot of great things for DeMar, and I think it would be unfair to not mention these people. A lot of heroes. You know, we look at sports and, you know, we all have heroes on the field, but there's so many people that saved this young man's life, and I just want to make sure they get recognized. But first off, God is good. Prayer of this country and NFL fans and Bills Mafia has just been unbelievable, and I know that comes from DeMar's parents as well. You know, Mario and Nina and just being near them, you know, these last few days, they should put a handbook together of how to deal with, you know, life-threatening situation with your child. I was in awe just watching their strength through such difficult up and down moments. And man, it was a pleasure to be a part and see how they handled it. I don't believe I would have handled it with the same strength if that was my son. But the Bills medical team, I know that the guys have been mentioned, you know, led by Nate Bresky. Denny's obviously trending on Twitter now, which is good for him. And Tabani's back there, and all those guys, our docs, did a great job. You know, one person that probably hasn't been mentioned is Corey, one of our equipment guys, who had to get there and get his face mask off so that they could work on him. And not easy when you see the situation, you know, DeMar's in. The two doctors yesterday that did the Zoom and answered a lot of the medical questions, Dr. Bill Knight, Dr. Tim Pritz, their team, amazing. And I want to go through some of those people, starting, you know, when this happened on the field. The field doctors there from Cincinnati, Dr. Woods Curry, Dr. Jason McMullen, Dr. Robbie Paulson, Dr. Brett Betts, and John Bush. Those guys jumped in and were ready for the moment. And I'm so grateful, and our organization and DeMar and everyone for them. The field paramedics there and ready to get him, you know, onto the ambulance and headed to the hospital. Rob Hersong, Dave Stigler, Mike Bacalsi, Brandon Terrell, and Brian Reed. Those guys, amazing work, you know, in such a stressful moment. And then when they got DeMar to the ER, you know, the first people, you know, putting hands on him, Dr. Alex Saavedra and Dr. Brown and Finney. The trauma team, Dr. Val Sams and Dr. Eileen Donovan. And then the ICU people that a lot of these people, you know, we were interacting with when we went back there to visit DeMar from the time he was in there and we could first see him till, you know, I left yesterday. Dr. Betty Sway, she wants no credit, but she did a heck of a job. Claire Deglow, probably spent the most time with Claire. She was the day nurse. Unbelievable poise watching her work. Brianna Ruhlman, Caleb Boehner, and Molly Lincoln. So there's many others, but I'd be remiss and if you know any of these people, you're in Cincinnati, take care of them and thank them. You know, they are heroes. Roger Goodell, you know, Roger's in a tough spot. He's the commissioner of the league. He's got all sorts of things going on. He called every day, and I know he sent a text to Mario, but you know, he's got a lot going on. He literally called every day and has called, you know, texted with me today. So appreciate him, Troy Vincent and Donna Ponte. The Cincinnati Bengals, Mr. Brown, his organization, anything we needed from hotel rooms to meals, they were just leading the way. Zach Taylor, I know Sean's talked about Zach, but Zach and Darren Simmons came over even before, while Sean was still there, waiting to see, you know, how DeMar was going to do once we got him, you know, into the ER. And Zach's wife, Sarah, she came over and brought meals the first night, and just so authentic. It was just, you know, it was very touching. the city of Cincinnati, all sorts of people, prayers, sending things. Just what a great city. You never want something like this to happen, but a lot of love and respect for that town and that city and the support they've shown. Sean Smith and the officials, I thought they did a heck of a job in a critical moment of how to handle this situation. And then last but not least, I want to start with here, Sean McDermott, what a great job of leading our team back here, getting them home. And, it was a very tenuous moments, as we know, as DeMar was trying to battle this through and a lot of unknowns and uncertainties. And just the vulnerability that Sean showed, working with our team, helping us get counselors here. And just, I went into the team meeting this morning. He's got this team rock solid. I'm biased, but through what we've been through in this guy deserves Coach of the Year for what he's done. Our coaches, our team leaders, Josh, Tremaine, all those guys, been checking in with some of them and through this process, and they're humans, and these are not gladiators or, as Sean mentioned earlier, robots. And this has been a tough ordeal, and I'm just so impressed and so appreciative of our team, our organization, and Terry Pagula's leadership. So I know that was long. I appreciate your patience, but it was very important for me to recognize all those people.
Brandon, through saying that, it seems like you've met so many people over the last couple of days. Could you explain what the last few days were like for you and why you felt it was needed and necessary to stay in Cincinnati with DeMar?
Yeah, it's, it's real simple, Maddie. It's what would you want someone to do for your son? And I got two boys, and, Sean wanted to stay as well, in fairness to him, and we were trying to figure it out. But as we're dealing with this in minutes, trying to make these decisions, we decided it was, we are the leaders, and he needs to lead these coaches and this team and help these guys get through back here, because we don't know how long this is going to be. And we may have a game, which we do, to prepare for. And so we divided it up, and I said, let me stay here. Let me support here. We'll work this out. And that's why I love Sean. He's we were able to work this through, and he did a great job there. But it was a roller coaster, Maddie, but just seeing his parents and the strength that they shown through this time, and different friends and family that showed up, it was great to see and learn more about DeMar. Obviously I knew who he was through the draft process and then just getting to know him this last year and a half, but you learn so much more and you see why he is who he is by, spending time with Mario and Nina. It's just so impressed with the medical team too. Just these people, yes, they're medical people, but their bedside manner, their care, hugging us and seeing tears out of their eyes. There's going to be a huge party when DeMar gets out of there, and that's the only part I'm sad that I'm not going to be able to see him walk out of there, but I'm going to be so thrilled when we get him back here.
What was it like to be there and see the support roll in from across the nation and across the world, and really see that GoFundMe number go up to well over 7 million now?
Man, it was, Tabani was keeping up with that and just like, hey, man, he's at 3-point this, he's at 4-point when I was just like, and, we were laughing with his mom. You try to have some laughable moments in there, and we were laughing. She's like, man, he just wanted $2,500 for this thing. She's like, some of the toys he bought, there was always like some disagreements with which child gets this toy, and I was like, you're going to be passing out cars next year, not toys. And so it's going to be exciting to see how excited DeMar is about what he can do, because that's who DeMar is. And he's so selfless, and he's always got a smile. I know Josh mentioned that yesterday. The kid always has a smile on his face. And today in that team meeting, man, it was hair on the back of my neck stood up when he said, I love you boys, man. And the room went nuts. It was just it was awesome.
That's amazing. Thanks, Brandon.
Thanks, Maddie.
Hey, Brandon, John Worrell.
Hey, John.
I hope you've been getting some sleep. How uplifting was it? I mean, for having been there for, those two first days, and then to know that he was awake and was gripping people's hands, to know that he had made that step in his recovery. For you to be there, how heartwarming was that, and I guess emotional?
Very emotional. When anyone that's had loved ones in life-threatening situations, the docs explained it to us. They said it's going to be 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So, and they're always giving you best case, worst case. So there's always ups and downs, and that's where we wanted to just try and bond together with the family and help each other through it. But it was such positive news, I would say 2 days ago, and then yesterday walk in there at 7 a.m. and Dr. Knight comes in and is like, "You're not going to believe it." Like, he's responding to commands. He's given us, he's still intubated, but he's given us, signals with his hands, and he's nodding. And, I wanted to go back there then. He's like, "Hey, we're going to talk through a few things where we're at." But we got back there around 8 to Bonnie and Nate and myself, and just able to hug him, and the grip strength that he had. I told Mario, I said, "I'm not a crier, but man, it was emotional, and a lot of grown men in there crying yesterday." But it's something I'll never forget.
And just one last thing, just as difficult and trying and then uplifting this week has been, I know you've probably had to have your GM hat on in dealing with the business of the NFL and this game. And I know a lot of this is about DeMar, but just I just need to ask, were you the point person on dealing with Troy and the NFL on the game being canceled, and just what your thoughts are on just how this whole seating thing is coming out?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't get involved with that part of it. We basically just John left the game and just said, "Listen, we can't play. You guys have to decide what it is." They did keep me and Terry in the loop of some of the things that were being discussed, but we didn't really weigh into what our thoughts were. For the most part, it was really just, these are some of the scenarios, and I know what came out last night, but it still has to be voted on and approved. So we'll see where that goes today.
I perfectly understand. I had to ask the question, but all the best to you, and just the news on DeMar is so fantastic.
Yes, it is. Thank you, John.
Hey, Brandon, it's Bove. You were obviously closer to the situation than most anybody was. You, his family, and some other staff members. I think yesterday the Zoom call with the doctors was probably when most of the outside world finally got peace of mind and knowing that he might be okay. Was there a moment for you where you had that moment of thinking, wow, he might get through this?
Yeah, I would say, when I left the hospital, my days are running together, but, they had to flip him over and, into a prone position early around 5:30 or 6 the morning after it happened. So that would have been Tuesday morning. When we left on Tuesday night, they said, "Listen, he's handling this well, but the big thing will be when we flip him back. How does he handle that?" And sometimes the way it was explained to me is you flip them for an hour, but they start to struggle again, and you got to flip them back onto prone. And if you can't get them to be able to lay back on their back like I'm kind of sitting here, then there's other procedures that have to be done without getting too deep into the weeds. And so when they said later that day that, "Hey, he's handling this great," that is great news. And that tells us that he's out of the woods from, the worst kind of scenario. And so you started to feel relief. Still not there yet, but like I said, from that point on, it just seems like things were trending up. And then yesterday morning, you walk in there and he's responding to commands. It was absolutely not what I thought I was going to hear. And it was just, it was definitely tears of joy.
I know you never draw it up this way, but your team has dealt with an unbelievable amount of adversity this past season, really start of the season and onward. Your focus this week was DeMar, but what does it say about the rest of your group that they've been able to navigate that, get through this, and kind of, can come out on the other end?
Yeah, Matt. I probably get emotional if I talk too much about it, but I'm so proud of our organization, our team, just so many people, the way we've dealt with so much this year. Definitely not the way you draw it up, but, I don't know what's going to happen the rest of the season on the field. I really don't. This is a group of winners, and I will forever remember this team, this season, the moments of it. I'm still hopefully optimistic that we can make a run. But I don't know if there's ever a team I'll be more proud of than this for all that's been dealt. And we're still sitting here with all this at 12-3 and a chance to still do something. So we'll see what happens there. But I could talk for hours how proud I am.
I figured. Thanks, Brandon.
Thanks.
Hey, Brandon, it's Heather. I'm getting my hair done, so there's no reason for me to have my video on right now, so I apologize.
Good luck with your hair.
Yeah, no, thanks. Just Sean talks so much about, and you guys talk so much about the importance of mental health and having counselors and all that stuff. Just how important is it to have a leader like Sean in place when something like this happens, and the fact that he understands the importance of mental health and that players and everyone is dealing with that as well?
Yeah, one of Sean's greatest strengths is he's a great listener. And I think that's one of the leadership qualities that people leave out that is as important as any of them. And he listens, he looks, he learns, and, he's so vulnerable. You got to stand up there and be a rock, but sometimes you got to be a human. And you got to lead these men into battle. You got to, get them riled up and fired up at times, but you also have to, understand certain moments are very humanizing. And I think he's got that balance. And like I said earlier, find me a coach. And again, I know I'm biased, but find me a coach that could have this team at 12-3 with all we've dealt with this year. And that's a true testament to him. And I'm glad he's our head coach.
And then I guess just lastly, just how are you personally just doing through all of this?
Yeah, it's been tough. You want to be a rock for everybody, but definitely, some moments of tears, and it's tough. But I'm excited that we're where we're at.
Thanks, Brandon. I appreciate it.
You got it.
Matt, we're having trouble hearing you, so we're going to go to John.
Hey, Brandon. I was thinking almost 12, a year ago, 13 seconds was this big talk, and words like adversity and crossroads, and those were kind of things that people thought would be a defining moment for this team. How does something like this redefine those types of words for you, this organization, and just really provide just a completely unique perspective and different perspective on really what a result of a football game means?
Yeah, the game of life, John, we know is way more important. We get wrapped up into teams and seasons and leagues, and it's natural. It's fun. It's fun to banter and go against, I got good friends on other teams. It's good to be able to beat their butts. But what was really cool this week is just seeing all the love and support from all the various GMs, coaches, players that I know around the league. And I know Sean and all our people got that. And I think it just shows a great human side to not only this league, but to all the people in our country. And like I said, and what you asked, 13 seconds means nothing. This is what it's truly about: building teams, building men, leading. And like I said, I know fourth down decisions, get questioned and things like that. Zach Taylor in Cincinnati, that's a fortunate franchise to have that guy as their head coach. I'm sure I've never worked with Zach. I do know him. I'm sure he's a great X's and O's play caller, and you can see that. But he's a hell of a leader, and he showed that as well in coming to the right decision the other night in a moment that his team was leading, and I'm sure they wanted to win that game just as bad as we did. and I don't know that a lot of people would have handled that the way he did. And again, back to Sean, it's been said over and over, but we're very fortunate here in Buffalo to have him.
And then a football game on Sunday. What is your vision, your feeling for what that moment is going to be, that afternoon is going to be, that small sliver of 3 hours or so after all of this past week?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a celebration of life and an ongoing life, and, just a celebration that, I mean, this is going to not only be a celebration in Buffalo, but the whole country, and I'm sure people internationally have watched this situation. And so I think it's going to be a great seat if you got a ticket to come here and to just be a part of this atmosphere. Hair on the back of my neck standing up right now thinking about it, John. But it's going to be unique, and I'm excited to see it. It will be a challenge for our team to be able to manage the emotions. There's going to be tears out there, and that will be probably the biggest challenge. More of the challenge than the X's and O's piece of it is just being able to go through that, and just seeing our fans. And I know there's going to be a lot of 3 numbers out there, and I'm excited to see it. It's going to be a cool deal, and the only thing better is if DeMar was out of there by then. I don't know that would happen, but anyway, we're excited for Sunday.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thanks, John.
Hey, Brandon, it's good to hear from you. I wanted to follow up some on what you were saying about Sean and his vulnerability, which I think is so key in helping this team and processing what's been going on with DeMar right now. When he talked about it, he was saying he was not always like that when he was a kid. Like, he used to bottle things up a bit more. And just how long you've known him, I was wondering, is that something you've seen him grow into? Did he kind of change his perspective on that a bit before you knew him, or just have you seen him evolve in that in your time of knowing him?
Yeah, I think he's definitely evolved. I think he's, I think that's what's great about him. He's always, Sean talks about, and it's one of our mantras here, is the growth mindset and just learning. And yeah, you get these jobs, and in his case, you get a head coaching job probably because you were, a really good offensive or defensive coach, and he was a very good defensive coordinator. But there's way more to his job, just like mine from a scouting standpoint, is leadership and understanding all what that entails, and who are you leading and what do they need. And just I think him understanding that, like I said earlier, yes, you have to lead them, and you got to get them to be ready for a battle on the field, which is toughness and all these things, but not show pain, and I'm going to fight through everything. But sometimes just, hugging a grown man and letting tears come down from your face, that can sometimes get even more respect. And I think Sean has that balance now more than ever.
And then on DeMar, you mentioned those moments with his mom of kind of the lighter sides of things, which you need to make it through all these really tough days, just on her with the toy drive that he can buy cars now. Were there any other moments that kind of stood out to you? I'm sure it's all a blur, but just of, that you go through all these emotions of that with his parents in particular.
Yeah, the one thing that stood out, and I haven't even told Sean about it yet, but his little brother, Demir, who unfortunately, because of his age, if the rule in the hospital due to flu and RSV, they don't allow you in an IC unit to I don't even think you can come in the whole hospital, maybe if you're under 14 years. So he was unable to be there, and we were talking about him and just how, I was asking him, how's he doing? Because that's his big brother. And, she was telling me 2 things. One, she was telling me that he's his biggest critic. Like, he calls him on the phone after the game, telling him, you did this wrong, you got to do this better, and kind of just breaking down the game. And I'm like, how old is he? He's like, he's 7. And I'm like, oh, that's amazing. He's got a future scout or a future coach. But then his dad brought over a video. He was talking about him wrestling, and he showed him wrestling. He's 7, wrestling like a 9-year-old. And, he flipped this kid around and just showed that competitive dog, that competitive edge. And it was cool. It was cool to see Demir, because I don't know Demir yet, but we definitely were able to laugh and smile at various things. And his dad, one other thing, he got a lot of swelling in his lip when he was prone, you get the fluids coming down to your face. And so a lot of things swell. And his dad came back there and said, he looks like Professor Clump right now from the Nutty Professor. So we had some good laughs.
Thanks, Brandon. Appreciate it.
Got it.
Brandon Beane, Mookie Hawkins, 1 Sports 1080, man. God bless you.
Thank you, Mookie. Good to see you, buddy.
Yes, sir. How important was it for you to be there with DeMar's family? And care to talk about the day nurse and her role? How instrumental was she?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's really not about me. It was more just I was only doing what I would want someone to do for my son, and that's really what it was. But the day nurse, Claire, got to know her the most. And again, I don't want to just single her out, but she is. I don't know how old Claire is, but she's a rock star, vibrant, and she just kept saying, "This is why I love my job." Yesterday, when he was waking up, and we were in there one day, and I was like, "Claire, I'm sorry, just tell us." She's like doing all sorts of stuff, and I was just really impressed. And I was like, "Claire, just tell us to leave if we're in your way." And she's had such patience about her, and she even said, she told me yesterday, she said, "I'm not supposed to work what's today." She said, "I'm not supposed to work tomorrow." She's like, "But the way he's trending, I got to come in, and I can't wait to get to know him." Because we just kept telling her, "You're going to love this kid. Like he's just so wonderful to be around." And it's just to not go in there and be a robot as a nurse or a doctor is probably not always easy to do. And just her showing she was just so excited to see the progress he had made, and she'll be even more excited when he gets out of there.
Absolutely, Coach. And just to follow up what Catherine was saying, how therapeutic was it for the players, for Coach to show that vulnerability at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I think the guys you heard that from Mitch and Dane and Josh, and I'm sure more of them will say it. I think Sean has a great pulse of the team, and he knows what they need. He knows when they need a kick in the butt, and he also knows when they need a hug, and that's what's special about him.
Appreciate your time. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Mookie.
Brendan, you talked about the challenge of keeping emotions in check for Sunday's game. How do you go about helping the players focus on the game come 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where Dr. Des and her crew and her skills, giving these guys, some tools to kind of get yourself recalibrated and focused that you're about to go into, cross the line into an NFL game and being ready and, not going ups and downs and just kind of being steady. And Sean's got a plan to kind of tomorrow go through some of the things that they will expect to see out there. But, that you can't prepare for everything. You're not going to know what all the fans are planning to do and some of the various emotions you'll see there. But just trying to give them as many tools and tips because there's going to be emotions flowing pregame to kind of recalibrate when it's time to, kick the ball off.
What are some of the tools that you're at liberty to share that the team has?
Well, I'm not a clinician, but Dr. Des, she does it sometimes on one side of the ball. She meets with people individually. She's got some various strategies that she goes through, and I don't know them all per se.
Hey, Brandon, thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it. I'm curious, we've spent a lot of time from the outside trying to get to know DeMar. When did you think that DeMar Hamlin should be a Buffalo Bill?
Man, Sean was talking earlier about Coach Narduzzi, and, there's times where Sean may know a coach, and in this case, I don't know Coach Narduzzi personally, but Sean know him. And so sometimes pre-draft, I'll say, "Hey, can you check on this player, call this coach?" And so a lot of times I'll sit in there, we'll get him on the phone and speaker, and he'll say, "Hey, coach, I got my GM in here, and we want to ask you about a few of your players." And coach just said, he said, "Listen, you guys evaluate the players however on our team." But when he was going through, they had 5 or 6 guys coming out that year. he's the steadiest, the steadiest guy that you're going to find and a true high character leader is Damar Hamlin, wherever you have. They don't necessarily know where you rate him. So that was one of the things that stood out when you hear the coach of, a team saying, this guy he's got it, and he's got the it factor, the want to, and wherever his skill set is, what you heard is he's going to reach that and then some. And those are the types of players that you love to get, especially later in the draft. So, he's sitting there. We talked about him around earlier, and he was still sitting there in the sixth and turned it in. And last year played more of a reserve role, but he worked so hard this year. I was talking with his dad. He worked so hard this offseason to prepare himself, and he's been a sponge with Micah and Jordan. And, we were talking about he had a little bit of a blessing that this offseason Jordan and Micah in training camp both had some injuries, so he got to get reps with the ones. And, he didn't expect to be starting by game 3, but, unfortunately Micah went down, and I think he's done a great job of filling that in and not leaving a true void without Micah.
And Brandon, if I could just get back to Sean for a second. He's helping to lead the organization, right? And he's helping to help the players with their own feelings and their own health. Who's helping Sean? Because he's carrying a heavy burden and a heavy weight. And I think as we saw him yesterday at the press conference, he looked pretty worn down, a little bit better today, clearly, right? Because of the news. But who helps Sean?
Yeah, I think that's for everyone here, and to try and, again, I mentioned we have Dr. Dez and some various people. Leslie Frazier is a good, mentor. And I know Sean has reached out to some other coaches that have dealt with various things. And I think, that's what a good team of people or a good family, and family is probably the better word, but, we all want to win. We all work hard. We're all competitive. Sometimes we go at it, but we have a deep love for each other. And I think we know when we need to put our arm around someone. And so I think we're all making sure that we're looking out for each other.
Thank you, Brandon, very much.
Thanks, Mike.
Hi, Brandon. Alex Brasky with the Batavia Daily News. The NFL just sent an email revealing plans for all 32 teams to honor Damar this week, including pregame moment of support, field painting, pregame shirts, and then your team will be wearing 3 jersey patches. Can you just speak about that news and just the overwhelming support from the league, and maybe if there's any additional plans from your team to show support for Damar coming Sunday?
Yeah, Alex, I think it's, as I mentioned earlier, it says a lot about our league that we're all competitive and we're all trying to win every single thing. We're trying to win the draft. We're trying to win games and ultimately trying to win a championship fighting against each other. But this week, every team changed their logo, on their social media page to pray for Damar. I don't think I've ever seen that. And we go to battle, but in the end, life is the number one battle. And to see that unity from players, coaches, GMs, owners, fans is unheard of. But I think it's a good light. It sheds a great light on the NFL, that the NFL is truly a family. And, we had people from the Cincinnati NFLPA, former players, come up to the hospital and just what do you need? I know you got the foundation. Do you guys need us to go buy you some clothes? Does the family need this? Just so many people from so many different, avenues. And it's cool to see. As far as this weekend, we're working on things. We definitely have the patch and, try and honor, some of the people that help, keep Damar alive in their roles. So we do have some various things. It's not, we're still talking to exactly the run of show, but I think it's going to be a nice deal.
Now, how about the gathering of fans outside the hospital? Did you have any perspective on that from where you were in the hospital? Were you guys able to look down on them or any interaction with any of them there at the hospital and your impressions of that?
Yeah, I thought it was great because it was not only Bills fans, it was Bengals fans and true football fans. And just you saw the care for them. I did not personally interact with them, just my sole focus. My job was to support Damar's family and get information from the docs and just try and help, lead point with some of that. So I did not interact with him, but very appreciative, and I know the family was too.
Thanks for your time, and thanks for your service to the team and the community.
Thanks, Alex. Appreciate you.
Hey, Brandon. I was curious, you mentioned obviously spending time with Damar's parents and getting to know more about Damir and them and all of that. I was curious, and maybe the answer to this is no, but did you learn anything about Damar this week that maybe you didn't know just from talking to his family and all of that?
I mean, not necessarily anything like crazy that I didn't know, but just more about him. And we talked about his foundation and how important that was. And, again, like I said, he was just trying to find $2,500. And, just some of his friends came up. So we had some laughs. One of them transferred from Pitt, was playing at Western Michigan. And it was just, met his girlfriend and just got to meet various people and hear some things about Damar. Nothing crazy that I didn't know, but it was just different things would come up at different times, and it was really, you feel like you get to know someone better when you're around their family and friends.
Definitely. And then I was curious just for you, obviously during the grind of a season, you don't really take time to kind of be in one place like that, sitting and being there to support, Damar and his family. What was, I guess, this week, what was it like for you to, pause the season and kind of take the time to, this situation that you can't be prepared for? Just what was it like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I should thank, Brian Gaine and Kevin Megank and Terrence Gray and Malik Boyd and some of the leaders here on the football staff that kind of helped run point on some things that I would normally need to run point on. And that helped me to just be able to, focus my time and energy there. So I felt that's what you do. You try and find as many good people to run whatever you need to be run. And I think getting back here, late yesterday and coming here this morning, and meeting with some of the staff, they did a great job, and that helped take the pressure off of me.
Thanks, Brandon. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Elaine.
Brandon, Dave Naylor from TSN. Can you? I know you've been in Cincinnati this week, but do you have a sense of what degree difference in terms of preparation your team will be going into this game on Sunday compared to if you had, I know it was already a short week, and then there's all the responsibilities that everybody had on top of that. How different is it compared if this had just been a normal week?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been way different. And, you just, the first day back in here was more about, checking on people and having them meet with psychologists and just having meetings not about football but about Damar and how are you doing, player X or coach X or staff member. Everyone saw how that went down on the field the other night, and so you can't unsee what you saw. And the first thing we needed to do was deal with those emotions, and people deal with them in all sorts of different ways. And when you got 60 plus players and staff, that's a lot of people that are going to deal with this in a different way, and some are still dealing with it. But it's just trying to reintroduce football in very small samples. And I think Damar's news yesterday really got our team. I was not here for practice, but I heard that practice was really good, all things considered. And just seeing the guys on the team meeting this morning being so fired up. It's kind of like cramming for an exam that you probably waited till the last minute for. I think that's what we're trying to do right now. And these guys are pros. They'll be ready on Sunday.
To that point about, all the attention of making sure every member of your staff, coach, player, otherwise, was processing as well as possible. It seems like a very enlightened approach, right from the reason the game was canceled because of the concern for the players' mental well health to the way you guys handle this. As somebody who's been around the NFL as a while, I mean, does this feel like all the talk about mental health that maybe began, 2 decades ago and applying it to professional sports, that this was kind of the fruition of a lot of the understanding and the teachings that's gone on in the last 2 decades?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think, mental health I've been in the NFL since 1998. Mental health was not something talked about at least the first decade I was in the league. And even when it started getting talked about, there was a little bit of kind of pushing it away a little bit, like we're football players and we're coaches and we're whatever. We don't need that. But I think what we've found out, the more we've opened our eyes to it, that and we talked about it earlier, these are humans, these players, these coaches, and the best thing you can do for them is let them be a human and not try and internalize everything. I think that makes them better people, and ultimately it will make them be a better player if they can deal with things properly, and that's what we've tried to do.
Thank you very much for your time today.
Appreciate you.
That's all the questions for today. Thanks, Beane.
Okay, thank you.